Hey, what's up, everybody? Michael Crump here, bringing you the latest and the greatest in PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 and other console homebrew news. Today, I want to talk about the recently announced PlayStation 5 4.03 WebKit jailbreak. So, if you want to know what it is and how to set it up, as well as a demo, then stay tuned. I would also appreciate you consider subscribing to the channel for more news just like this. Okay, let's jump into it. So I want to begin with a bunch of quick facts. So the very first thing is that this is only going to run on a PS5 that's setting on the 4.03 firmware. Now, there's a bunch of ways that you can go in if you've already got a PlayStation 5 and go check out and see what firmware that you're using, but it's only going to work on 4.03. Now, just like previous PlayStations, if you are on a lower firmware, then you can upgrade to 4.03. I'll leave a link directly from Sony's website on how that you can do that. Next up is that this is a WebKit exploit, meaning it is not a kernel exploit, meaning that you're not going to be able to run homebrew applications with this. Now, the whole purpose of releasing the source code is that this code gets in as many hands as absolutely possible. And then with the combined knowledge of the security community and the PlayStation 5 or just PlayStation homebrew community, then maybe they can get a kernel exploit. So right now, this exploit won't allow you to do anything outside of pop up a couple of different alert boxes inside of a web browser with things like your process ID that it's currently running on. But what this means for you is that if you've got a PlayStation 5 and you're on 4.03, don't go ahead and update it again. Leave it directly as it is on 4.03, or if you've got a lower firmware, you may just want to hold on to that and see if something else happens. But 4.03 is going to be the magic firmware. Okay, so right over here is the website where the exploit has been released. And if you scroll down into this, I thought it was very interesting that they provided a bit of introductory information on when the PlayStation was released, a couple of key changes from the PlayStation 4 back over to the PlayStation 5. And then if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see there was a little bit more information about Userland and this group called Project Zero that released a report. They thought it was a CV, but it actually wasn't. And so there was a proof of concept, which was later modified to gain ROP execution, which is simply return-oriented programming, which allows an attacker to execute code in the presence of different security defenses. And in this case, it would be executable space protection that would allow folks to write code to run in different memory regions. Now, it says in here that lower firmware such as 2.00, they don't seem to be vulnerable, likely because the font face code isn't present in the older builds of the WebKits. And again, this is the same exact thing for PS4 firmwares that are lower than 9.00. This is why you don't see a 6.72 machine using the USB exploit on the PlayStation 4, simply because they can't be exploited in the same way. But what they found here was that in firmware 4.03 on the PlayStation 5, it was vulnerable. So they provided a little bit of code here where you could kind of understand exactly what they were doing, some mitigation work, as well as how they implemented the WebKit exploit. And then down at the bottom, they do leave us with some hope here. It says gaining userland code execution is trickier, but it is possible. Of course, this was made easier by the fact we have the binaries and access to some of the ROP gadgets. Otherwise, achieving code execution would have been far more difficult. This is a userland exploit. Attacking the kernel is much more difficult due to above mitigations and is left for a future write-up. Okay, and here is some of the credits. These are the real developers that have been hacking the system. So these are very well-known and trusted folks, and I greatly appreciate the work they've done for us. Okay, so let's take a look at a walkthrough of cloning the repository and then setting up our own host for this. Okay, so head over to github.com and we need to create a user. If you've already got a user, well, then you can obviously skip this part of the video. So first off, we are going to input our email address, and then we'll just go ahead and click on where it says sign up for GitHub. Give it just a moment here, and we're going to verify our email address. And now we're just going to punch in a quick password here and hit the continue button. And we're going to create a username. I'm just going to wind up using crump and then -YouTube. Hit continue. And we're going to select no here because we do not want to receive any product updates and announcements. Okay, so it's going to ask you to verify this puzzle here. This is the typical type of stuff that they put in to make sure that you're not a bot. So we're going to select the spiral image here, and I think it'll make me do another one. So there we go. There is the spiral galaxy. So let's hit create an account here. Okay, so at this point, we are just waiting to get our code. It's already been sent to my email address, so I should get that in just a moment. Okay, and I'm just going to paste it in, and it says how many team members will you be working with. It's just going to be me, and I am going to hit continue here, and we don't need anything on this page, so just go continue, and we're just going to pick the free account here, so free, and whew, that's a really nice kind of intro. Initializing your dashboard, and here we are. We've got our new GitHub account created. So we'll head back over to the PS5 WebKit Execution GitHub. And from here, all we're going to need to do is click on where it says code and then download zip. And we will have that downloaded onto our machine. Okay, and so I've just put mine in a folder right here called PS5 Exploit. And there is the zip file that I just downloaded. I'm going to come in here and I am just going to extract it. And now we have our PS5 WebKit execution main folder. Let's go ahead and go into that. And there is going to be the files that we're going to upload to GitHub in just a moment. First off, what we need to do is we need to create a new repository. And for the repository name, it's going to be simply your username.github.io. And we're going to let this be public, and we're going to create a repository. Okay, and so now we need to create a README file. So I'm just going to click right here on this option that says README, and we're going to leave everything as the default here, and then select Commit New File. And now we can go to where it says Add File, and we can go to Upload Files. So now we're going to be able to simply drag and drop those files that we just extracted over into this window. So let's just bring this window back over here, and let's select all of the files here, and we're going to drag and we're going to drop those. And it should just take a moment or so. And then finally, you can click on where it says Commit Changes. Okay, so we're not done yet. It's not an actual page at the moment. So we'll fix that. Okay, so all of the files are there. Okay, so now click where you see this ellipsis button, and we're going to go down to Settings, and we're going to scroll down the page just a little bit here. And it says Page Settings has its dedicated tab, so just check it out here. And it says right here, it says your site is published at this URL. Okay, so everything else looks great. We don't have to make any more modifications to this page. And we can now just go ahead and we can click on the published site. Okay, there's that site, and this is exactly as expected. So up at the top, this is the URL that you would put into your PlayStation 5, which is just crump-youtube.github.io. Obviously, you can host this in a bunch of other places as well. I'm sure there's going to be ESP solutions for the ESP32. I'm sure there'll also be solutions for the ESP8266, as well as you'll probably see something with the Raspberry Pi as time goes by. And if you go ahead and you put that URL into your PlayStation 5's web browser, this is what you'll see. Okay, there is the process ID. And this is the process thread join result, which this number is typically the same in every instance, at least that I have seen folks run this. And then finally here, there's going to be the branch counter and then the last KQ. And again, typically these numbers are the same on the folks that I have already seen that's been running this jailbreak. And that is the very last message dialog that it will prompt. Okay, and if you want any of the references that I talked about here today, here they both are. Keep in mind, there's a lot of people talking about this, and you want to probably get more of your information from folks that are a little bit trusted into the scene or the actual developers of the exploit themselves. Well, I hope this helped, and I thank you so very much for watching. Leave a like, leave a comment, or hit the subscribe button. With that being said, Michael out.